Thanks, Basil. I just want to give you a bit of an insight into the Saturday afternoon team. We're a bunch of unique individuals.
Hello and welcome to episode 18 of the Unique Individuals podcast. Good to have the boys with me. How are we going, lads?
Oh, well, mate. Should be an absolute ripper of an episode.
Yeah, great to be here again. Going pretty well.
Yeah, good to be with the boys.
Good stuff, boys. Now, we don't have Blair, unfortunately, today. He's got a doctor's appointment, but he's in our hearts.
He's having a heart a little appointment. So
Heart appointment?
Yeah. Well, you know how he had the slow heart rate and stuff. Yeah. So
It should have been
hopefully it goes all right, and he doesn't have too many issues with it. But I don't know. We'll see. I guess.
I think he took Sunday's loss a bit too literally, by the sounds of it.
Yeah. The man's he's dying of a broken heart.
Yeah, well, there have been a few broken hearts recently, and we'll get straight into it, actually. It's not easy to bring up this topic, but Hugo, you and Blair had your grand final last week, but unfortunately you boys couldn't get the job done. A debrief on the day.
Yeah, well, it was good to see all you boys down there. That was we appreciated the support at the threes, but yeah, Saturday I was feeling good. Blair was feeling good Saturday, and then got heated off at about 7:30 in the morning.
Unbelievable.
Because the predicted weather was 37, I think it was.
Yep.
And the cut-off for people who don't know is 37 degrees, can't play. I don't think it topped 31 degrees all day. It was shocking. So, you sort of takes a bit of a mental toll, that extra day. And then Sunday morning we got up and we just couldn't get the job done, unfortunately. We bowled all right. We had a few chances that we usually take that we didn't take earlier on in the innings, and their number 2, I think, or 3.
I think it was 2.
Yeah, it was their number 2, made a 91. I dropped him on 70 odd, which wasn't great. It just wasn't a good day, to be honest. It's the way we played. We had a batting collapse. We got off to a flyer, chasing 177, I think it was.
I think so, yep.
And Matty Stewart and Pinners got us off to a ripping start. Matty Stewart got out, then I went 2 balls later. Wasn't great. But we all tried our best, that's all you can ask, but it wasn't. The result didn't go our way. We're probably the better team, I thought. We're not on the day, obviously, but overall, I thought we were a better team than them. We probably should have won. It's probably a grand final we've let slip, but we'll blame it on playing on Sunday, not Saturday.
Well, yeah, it was a great contest throughout the whole game, really. And, I just think Mulgrave were just a bit too stronger on the day. But again, if you guys keep the same team you have for next season, you're well and truly chance to, actually be premiers.
The one thing it was, you guys did well. You battled hard, especially at the end, even trying to chase down the runs at the tail end. You were in it for most of the game until the final wicket pretty much fell. But what I will say is that I think, you say you blamed it on playing on Sunday, not Saturday, correct?
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case. I think it's an article that was written by Scribe Sports' Aaron Blair Burns during the week, which it was brought up during the game by some of the Mulgrave fans. As you boys said, you're glad to have the exposure, but there was one line that said that Mulgrave were the previous favourites, and it seemed like it fueled them. And what I will say is that at least Blair did lead one team to a premiership that week. But
I don't think that was the line that caused the most motivation for them. I think it was we played them 2 weeks prior to the grand final, and he said we tamed them, and that got a lot of commentary from the sidelines because I think their 2s were watching on the hill next to us, and they apparently, as Blair was walking out to bat, they were sort of in a group huddled up after they'd taken a wicket, and they said, let's give it to Blair, in no uncertain terms. And
they were getting right into him.
Yeah, they just didn't give it to Blair. They gave it to all of us about the article. So if Blair could just hold off on his articles about local cricket until the season's done next time, that'd be brilliant. But,
I think another reason maybe to why they responded in such a way was because the language Blair uses. I mean, he uses the word rolled, and when he says we rolled the team, whenever I hear that, I think of that means you've smashed them. But in his terms, he thinks it's just a comfortable win. So I think he needs to. I mean, it was a great article, but the Mulgrave boys, the nerds, they obviously did their research before the game, and I've stalked our socials and found the Scribe Sports article on the grand final preview.
Feel free to get on the pod as well then if that's the case. If you're getting the Scribe Sports articles, we'd love the support. So
Look, it's good publicity for Scribe Sports and what we're all about, but yeah, I mean, well done to Mulgrave. It's tough to say because we didn't obviously want them to win, but I don't want to speak out of school too much, but like, a pack of wankers, to be honest. Like, just a
They really were.
Just a chat. Like,
Yeah.
it was just sickening. Some of their guys couldn't hold the bat, couldn't bowl.
Absolute
and they
hacks.
were talking absolute crap.
Yeah.
Absolute rubbish to guys that are, better than what they could ever dream of being. But, a few of their players showed up and they did the job. A few blokes shouldn't even be in that sort of Div 3. Nick Parker, the main one there. But, I know, unlucky for the boys, but well done to Blair and Hugo and the Baldwin boys. It's a fantastic season, lads, and you've come a long way, so you've done very well.
Yeah, it was a great season. And in addition, the Fours also had their grand final, lost by a similar margin, about 30 runs. So both the teams, for Baldwin Saints, who made the grand final, couldn't win it, but were close. And I guess better things next season, hopefully.
Yeah, it was good after the grand finals. Both the 3s and 4s got back down to the club rooms and had a few drinks to celebrate the season. Even though we didn't get the ultimate prize, it was just good culture down at the club. Me and Blair, but Blair in particular had a few too many.
Just a few.
Yeah, but just quickly on the match, just before we move on, but it was a bit annoying. That was the one game that went live on Frogbox because, Monday night I played basketball and I had a semi-final on the Monday night with a bunch of mates from school, and the first thing as I walk into the centre, they just hold up the phone. They've got the duck on replay. I'm like, thanks
stiff.
boys.
Well, it's not often a Div 3 game gets broadcast on Frogbox, so you got to make your chance.
I didn't know how they found it. Like, I didn't tell them about it. And I've walked in and it's on replay. I'm like, cheers, boys.
Gosh.
Absolute nuffies, lads.
don't worry, we all had it on replay as well, so they're not the
Owen
only
had
ones.
it on replay 5 minutes after I got out.
I was just re-watching it. I didn't realise Hugo was next to me. But look, you'll bounce back from that. But yeah, no, great season to you and Blair, and to everyone in the club. And yeah, obviously now footy's up and running. And well, Hugo, back onto you. You have is it official?
Yeah, mate.
It's official. He
signed the contract.
He signed the contract.
More nearly.
Fair bit of money.
99%. He has signed the contract to play for Latrobe this year in footy with Connor. So had a training session last week. Well, not last week. Last Thursday.
Tuesday, wasn't it?
Tuesday. A couple of days ago.
Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday.
How was it, boys?
Pretty good. I was quite impressed by the big fella. Considering he's been sort of out of the game for a little while, he showed some very good signs, and I think he's going to be pretty good inclusion for the team this year. So very excited, and good to have a run with the lad.
How'd you fit in, Hugo?
Yeah, it seems like a good club to be a part of. I enjoyed the training session, but I think Connor's been a bit nice there. Pretty ordinary at training.
Yeah.
He definitely showed some good signs. Maybe a little bit rusty, but when you haven't played for 4 years, I don't think I'd know how to kick the ball if I hadn't played for 4 years. So doing pretty well, mate, and you'll only get better from here. So it's good signs ahead.
Yeah,
I
good
think.
stuff. Yeah, nice. And Rezzies?
Yeah, right. No, I'm not pushing ones. We're not going that high.
But yeah, good to get back into the footy, for sure. Jackson, you've got a story to share the viewers and the listeners. Something that happened at Athletics Carnival.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, I do work at my old school in the sports department, mainly coaching.
What's the old school called?
It is called Mary Mead.
Mary
College.
Mead.
The way of Mary. In the way of Mary.
That is
The
correct.
Father, Son, the Holy Spirit. Oh, man.
Holy Ghost.
Shout out to them. Mainly I've been taking care of the volleyball program. We won our first game, the last game of the season yesterday, which was good for the lads. And then seeing us kickstart on Monday. But I also worked at the Athletics Carnival that they had on Tuesday, and every year I participated in it as a student. There's a staff versus students race, but they've changed it up a little bit. So now it's a 4x100 meter relay in your houses, 2 staff members, 2 students. So, you know, I'm helping out the day. It's the marquee event of the day. And I'm out there, you know, doing my job. And I noticed one of the lanes is empty. You know, a few of the teachers are going off. A lot of them saying, "Nah, I don't want to run. Don't want to run." So the teachers were stations 1 and 3, and the students were stations 2 and 4. Right. So there's a baton just lying on the floor for one of the houses. I'm looking at it. I'm thinking, do I do it?
I'll take this opportunity.
Do I do it?
Oh.
So had a look to see if anyone else is going to take it. I'm like, I'm going for it.
Cancel.
I'm going to take it.
He's in his the latest of late ins, but
And
see how he went.
Medical sub.
and literally
Medicine.
no word of a lie. The kids just start flocking all the way to the start line, getting ready. They're like, "Yep, we want to see this in action. We want to see Jackson running." Teachers start huddling over. They start getting ready and going for it. and everything.
Mansell. Any of those chants?
Yeah, I had a few of those. I was like, oh, yeah, let's go. Even though if they were in my own head, but I did have something like that. Had a few teachers mocking me with some backwards running and everything like that, as if I'm a field umpire, and doing the stand and everything like that. But they got the wrong vocation there. But yeah, and so getting ready to the race. Gun's about to go off. One of the teachers from the other house starts walking over. It's like, "Can I take the baton?" I'm like, "He's in the house." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, there you go." I thought I'd do the right thing, but kids were disappointed.
Wait, so that's it?
So he didn't
That's
even
it.
get.
Wait, that's
We
it?
thought he was gonna run. He didn't get to run. Oh.
So
But
What's a teacher's name? We're gonna
I
put the
don't even
spotlight on
know.
him.
That's how much.
we
it
want a
changed.
one-on-one now.
He's a nobody. He doesn't.
But
You don't know him.
That being said, the real reason I pulled out was not because the teacher was there. Is because I would have smoked everyone in the race. So there you go.
And you're
There's
trying to
no
do the
proof.
right thing.
Self-indulgence.
It's huge self-indulgence.
Gee, I was
but-
excited.
Enough of this self-indulgence stuff, right? I know there's a bit of hearsay about this, right? Like it's like a safe word for crying out loud. Everyone goes, "Oh, that's self-indulgence." It's like you're crying for help for crying out loud, right? I looked up the definition the other day. Right?
Oh, gosh.
Excessive or unrestrained gratification of one's own appetites, desires, or whims, right? I do not fall in that category.
Oh, I
right?
I think he does.
That's you to a T when you're really young.
That's up for debate.
You know examples of self-indulgence that do fit into that category? Your love for the Saints, your profile picture, and you getting up on stage at Workers with your top off. That is self-indulgence right there. Enough said.
Well, let's just call this podcast the Jackson Mansell podcast. At this rate.
I heard a few of the boys actually say on Sunday that you were going to change the name to What's Up.
That's
What's?
that's shocking.
That's cap.
And you wanted 10% royalties.
Man, so I feel like the reason why you actually stepped aside from the race, not necessarily because you knew you were going to smoke everyone, but because you're a bit worried that you might get beaten by kids. Is that true?
I was facing against staff members, so yeah, I was not going up against kids. So
Well, the kid would have I reckon you would have stepped in and just, probably smoked you, but yeah, anyway.
But yeah, no, good story. Good story. Yeah. Oh, I was really hoping for a,
I was too, to be honest with you.
I didn't know where it was going.
was
Well,
going-
actually, I thought it was going one way and it just didn't really go anywhere.
Oh, it was a complete U-turn. Just like go the other direction.
No Yui on it.
Yeah, anyway.
But yeah, no. Obviously, Owen. I mean, the boys have announced their whereabouts for footy this year. You've also got some news. Matter of changing codes even as well.
Yeah, well, I never officially signed for a team at all, but I was trying for Lower Plenty. And then one of my mates, Thomas Teresi, shout out to Thomas Teresi from the cricket club, he was like, "Oh, get down to one of Bullying Templestowe's training sessions." I was like, "Oh yeah, I might give it a go, see how it is." And the first session was one of the best sessions I've ever had. I mean, coaches were really good, players were really welcoming, and I really enjoyed the team environment. So, not saying Lower Plenty didn't have that, but I just felt a bit more at home at Bullying Temp. So, I've officially signed to play under-19s. I'm eligible still for under-19s, so I'll be playing for the under-19 side for Bulleen Templestowe Bullants. Really excited. It's the first time I'm going to be playing since I broke my arm, which was like 5 years ago. So I've missed it. I think since watching Geelong win the premiership, it's motivated me to get back into the footy. Really looking forward to it. Can't wait.
Yeah. There you go. We'll get on to the sports talk at the moment, and
I think I did a few things on the weekend as well. There's a little bit in there.
After you said what you said before, we don't need to go to you. But no,
are we going to go there or are we not?
Are we going to go there? But,
I want to go there because we have to talk.
If you want to go there, then we have to
talk
go
about
there.
all the individuals' life.
It's called the individuals for a reason. So
Tell us what you need to talk about, Connor.
Right.
Get it off your chest.
Before we get into the sport talk, what do you have to get off your chest?
Following on, no, I'm just talking about the weekend. But following on from a week, following on from the loss with Hugo and Blair, I played a grand final as well, copped a loss as well. So it wasn't great, but
Oh, that's great.
I know it was.
all that to tell us you lost a grand final too.
No, I'll just do a little recap. So
Okay, a little recap.
we won the toss. We bowled first because we thought, our bowling side's quite good. Bowled extremely well. Could have easily had them about 5 for 20 off 20, I would have said, but they just weren't nicking them, which was very unfortunate. So we struggled to get wickets, but still kept them 140 or 40. And then, just really didn't get going with the bat. Lost early wickets. Blokes were taking one-handed catches. We were chopping on. It just wasn't our day. And we made about 100 in return, and we lost to the arch rivals Tahara, who it's a tough one to cop because they're a bunch of cockheads as well, which is really disappointing. Really disappointing. Well, yeah. But Mulgrave, look, they may be up another level to that. That was ridiculous amounts of arrogance and idiotic behaviour from young men that I've ever seen. But so played a footy pracky match as well on last night, actually, Thursday night, and it was meant to be a reserves had played the second half, so 2 30-minute quarters, seniors play the first, and we had the teams roughly sorted like that. And then seniors played the first half. We played Western Rams, which I don't know what league they're in, to be honest, but apparently they'd been going pretty bad the last couple of years, so we thought we were on for a show. And seniors absolutely smashed them. There's 10 or 11 goals in it, and they didn't even kick that well for goal. It could have been much more. But then the twos come out, and I saw like 7 or 8 blokes for them. I was like, geez, they're not going to have many. They're going to be pretty bad. And then all of a sudden about 6 Indigenous lads come out, and within 5 or 10 minutes, they're just wheeling onto their left, just hitting kicks that are barely going off the ground, 40 metres down the line, just hitting blokes everywhere. And we got pumped. I played forward, and we did not kick a goal. The ball barely come down there, so I ended up playing a really high half forward role to get up the ground just to get involved. But and I went all right, given the situation. But I was talking to the boys like halfway through that, and they said they thought it was going to be combined. So a lot of senior blokes rocked up later. So we pretty much played against their seniors. Our reserves did, and our seniors pretty much played against their reserves. And so like some of those boys could really play, especially the Indigenous boys, lightning fast and just unbelievable skills. So it didn't go to plan. I thought I might. Coming in, I thought I might kick a sneaky couple, especially against just their reserve side, but we end up playing the seniors, which, I don't know, it'll probably help us in the long run a bit more, playing against a tough opposition, but didn't go to plan, and what can I say? We ended up getting beaten pretty badly.
Now that's a story.
In a couple quarters. Got beaten really badly in a couple quarters, but we're never going to come up against that sort of quality in Div 3 VAFA reserve, so I think it'll hold me in good stead, and I felt all right out there. Played probably better than what I did in the intra-club against a better opposition, which was good. So keen for the season. We're about 3 weeks off, so can't wait.
Couple of questions
Yes.
in that regard. So obviously you said the ball didn't go down there as much. Firstly, how many touches did you have, and how many touches did your opponent have?
I don't know exactly. I don't really count them. Well, I played the 2 quarters. The 2:25. They were 25. They weren't 30-minute quarters. Look, I went okay, but then in the second quarter, like towards the back end, the coach is like, go down back. We're just getting hammered down there. I'm like, yeah, righto. Even though in my mind I was like, bloody hell, I don't want to go down back and chase ass. So, but look, I probably had, I'm going to say probably about 7 touches as a half forward, and it didn't really come down there. So, like, not too bad, but I had to really push up the ground. I was at half back sometimes and then try to get him for kick
Almost
outs.
taking the kick-ins, yeah.
But I got a few rundown tackle holding the balls, used the ball pretty well, which I pride myself on. So, look, not too bad. But I was expecting our midfield to win more ball, but their midfield was just senior players against our twos players, so it made it a lot harder. And we didn't really have a great inside 50. There was inside 50s, but they weren't very clean and gave us no chance really. So I don't know, I did all I could, I think, in the situation.
No, keep your head up, mate. It's only a practice match.
Yeah. Oh, but mate, they were a very good side. Some of those boys could easily play Northern Footy League, I reckon.
Oh, fair enough.
Or VFL. A couple of those Indigenous boys. A couple of boys apparently Gold Coast Academy back in the day. A couple of those lads.
Not bad.
So yeah, it was not what I anticipated coming in. I thought we were all going to have a day out, but ended up just getting flogged, which, it's never too fun. Anyway, we move on. So Mansell.
Speaking about having a day out, you also went to the Workers on Monday night. Any action there? I didn't mean.
Look, no action.
Come on, Mansell.
None of what you were referring to. I don't go looking for that stuff, Mansell, like yourself, mate. But we got a ripping turnout. The first years were there. Our second years were there. Everyone was there. And there were so many people on the stage. I was adamant. I was like, I'm not going on the stage. I say that every week, but
Sure.
in my mind, I'm like, I'm not going there. Let the young fellas show their potential. But then I think it was Cameron Marcroft. It just lifted me up onto the stage, and I'm like, oh well, I'm up there now. Might as well go ahead. But look, the security really weren't doing their job that night. Like there was a lot of people on stage, and I think he just thought, can't be stuffed, and I'm just gonna sort of take the money and run. So to speak, but like they weren't doing their job too well. But there was a lot of people up there, so I didn't really have a main role to play. I was kind of just in the background. But there was a time where Blair and I were both up there and up the front, and a bit of a brotherly bond there, and it was a special moment. So yeah, but yeah, I don't know, it went pretty good, but I didn't get any action.
Just a regular
you're
night.
referring to.
Just a regular night for you, Connor.
Yeah, slow news day, just a regular one for me.
Oh, fair enough.
Do it in my sleep, that sort of
nice.
stuff. Yeah.
Good stuff.
But yeah, that's all. So I've dragged it on a bit.
Hugo, you're pissing yourself laughing there. Your thoughts on the man's great work?
Oh, I can't really comment. All my thoughts were a bit inappropriate for the podcast, I thought. So
I don't know if there's any video evidence of any of my talents on the day.
We'll find some.
We'll find.
I don't know. Someone will have one if we search, high and far.
No, good stuff.
All right. Well, there we go. Now we can get into the sports talk. Connor's finished blabbering. But,
Sorry, mate. Oh,
You call it a Connor Burns show now.
I sort of felt they were more interesting than your little running story at the school sports. But
Is that the slogan for the Connor Burns show?
anyway,
Bang.
tell your sport, mate. Get into it. You're the main man.
Well, yeah. Footy season's obviously started. Had round 1 over the weekend. Round 2 has started with last night. I mean, the Blues getting it done over Carlton.
The Blues getting it.
Mitch
Well,
Honey.
the Cats had some Blues
The
against
Doggies
Carlton.
have a lot of good players. Mitch Honeychurch. Well, he's the main one. He's the main one.
Well, yeah, the Blues and the Cats last night played, and Geelong are now 0-2. Owen, I know you had some words that you wanted to say about last night's clash. Being a Geelong man, what were your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, no. Well, I've been to both games now. Collingwood's game last week, and the Geelong and Carlton game last night. Yeah, look, Geelong, we play well in patches, but not for four quarters. Last night we left our run too late. Even if we did win that match, we would have not deserved it. Like last week, Collingwood were the better team; they deserved to win. Carlton were the better team last night; they deserved to win. I just think a few players aren't stepping up. I think Dangerfield plays in patches. You know, when he gets the ball, you see him throwing his body on the line, but other than that, you know, he disappears. And I feel like it's a tough position to fill, being captain and trying to replace Joel Selwood and the kind of leader he was for the team. But I think that's something that we're missing. We're missing that Joel Selwood in the team, that leader who can bring the experience to the table when it comes to these moments, these crucial moments in the games. But I think the whole idea of, we're getting old, we're getting slow, I still don't believe it, but there are, because we do have some really electric young players up and coming who do bring that speed, but there are a lot of players as well who really need to step it up. But yeah, look, I'm not too worried. You know, people saying, we're still on the hungover, premiership hungover, but look, I mean, it's round 2. You know, we got a good run, good couple of games ahead. We'll get back on our feet. Last season, Geelong were 5-4, and then we went on to win the next 16 and then the grand final. So look, I'm not worried. We just got to get it all together. Like I said, it's not panic stations. It's just we got to play for 4 quarters consistently rather than playing in these small little patches well.
Yeah. Do you think Dangerfield as the new captain, the pressure and expectation on him has impacted his game? Obviously, Joel Selwood, big loss, and I reckon bigger loss than some might have given him credit for, just thinking he was too old, he was done. But whenever the game's on the line, like Joel Selwood's always there, or was always there. So obviously a big loss. But what do you think? Do you think there's any impact on Dangerfield, or you think he just needs to sort of warm into it and get a bit more experience in that role?
Yeah, again, I think it's only round 2, right? So he's 2 games as captain, so
Yeah,
he's probably
very
still
new.
getting used to the whole idea of, or just the whole concept of really leading the team. But
Yeah.
I think look, I don't know what's happening behind the scenes, obviously, but I think what he could do is show more fight on the field rather than, again, playing in these small patches. Because when he does do well, he is really good, but he disappears for, a large proportion of the game. So, but look, again, it's not his fault at all, really. It's a team game. And look, I'm not making excuses at all, but injuries haven't helped Geelong so far. I think our defence is really weak at the moment.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Like, full credit Sam DeConey, but he's still very young and still getting into the game. I'm not set on Radigalia. I think he can do some good things, but I think the game IQ isn't quite there for him. And then you think about it, Geelong's only 2 tall key defenders at the moment. We're missing Stewart, we're missing Colin Jasny, we're missing Jack Henry. So some really key players there, all injured. So we just got to work it out. But yeah, not panic stations yet, that's for sure.
Yeah. You do have a task amount as well. No team has won the flag being 0-2 since the Kangaroos back in 1999. So there is a task there, but if Geelong are up to it, they're up to it. One player that did, I believe, statistically had a pretty good game last night was Jeremy Cameron. 6 goals, 25 touches. He's some of the names that have been able to, have a stat line like that. Jeremy Cameron's done it 3 times, but he's in the conversation with Kevin Bartlett, who's done it 3 times. And then you go to Lee Matthews, who's done it 15 times. What are your thoughts on Cameron's performance last night?
Yeah. Incredible, really. Just reminded me a bit of Gary Ablett Senior in the 89 grand final, where he kicked 9 goals in a losing grand final. But yeah, he's a special player, really. I mean, yeah, I honestly thought he was best on ground without being biased. I mean, people could say Curnow was with 5 goals, but Jeremy Cameron did more up the field as well, I thought. He played a bit of a defensive role at one point, actually. Incredible play, really. I mean, Joe Watson said it on the commentary last night, how he's arguably the best player in the comp, and I think, without doubt, I reckon he is. I want to get Hugo on this because I know he doesn't really like Jeremy Cameron, but he's a game changer, really, and he just brings that. He's a bit of a cheat code almost. I mean, he can just change the game off his own boot, and he nearly did, really. I mean, without him in Geelong's side last night, we would have really struggled. But he is a real game changer and can do really special things.
Oh, look, there's no doubt he's a very good player, very talented player, but to call him the best in the game, it's quite the stretch, I reckon. It's not flaky, but there are times where you think, where is he? Where is he? What's he doing? Like, he's just not there. I don't know how to describe it. There are times where he goes missing sometimes, I think, in big moments. So I wouldn't call him the best player in the game, but he's definitely right up there for like sort of top 10, top 15 players in the competition. But I wouldn't go as far to call him the best player in the comp.
Yeah, he's one of the best forwards, that's for sure. But yeah, like you said, in a losing side, to kick 6, have 25, and I think Curnow kicked 5, but he only had 11 disposals, so it's fair to say that Cameron was best on. But yeah, I don't know. What are you suggesting? A bit of Gary Rowan-esque sort of goes missing?
I wouldn't put him down to that level, but with no disrespect to Gary Rowan, but no, I just think Cameron he's got more talent than he shows. Like, he doesn't do it consistently enough, I think.
I think if anything,
that's harsh.
I think if anything, his game's he's getting more consistent, on a weekly basis.
That's
how I feel. Yeah,
It's hard for a forward to be consistent all the time.
He's been more consistent at Geelong than he was at GWS.
Yeah,
He'd definitely go missing.
I'll give him that.
GWS and then kick 6 one week,
but
and then
I think there are certain teams who play more one-on-one based defence who stop him a lot easier than teams who play zone. Like, if you play zone against him, he'll tear you up. But if you play one-on-one, like, you put one defender on him, I feel like he can go missing a bit more.
And just stick with him, shut him down. Yeah, it's potentially fair enough.
That's actually not a bad call, actually. No, I think that's fair. But I think his versatility and how he can push up the ground. Because he's a half forward. He's not like a full forward. He can push up the ground and do a bit more than just mark and kick a goal. Which is why I think he brings more to the Geelong side. But anyway, look, no panic stations yet for Geelong, but disappointing to lose 2 close-ish games, I guess. But all credit, Collingwood and Carlton look very good this year. I mean, 2 tough games at the G. Big crowd for Collingwood and Carlton more than Geelong because it's at the G. But yeah, no, it's the way it is, really.
Yeah, well, now if we look at the other end of the spectrum, the Blues they're undefeated now this year because obviously they had that famous draw round 1 season opener. On a night where Richmond had 21 more inside 50s, it seemed like they scraped away with the points there. Connor, I know you're at the game. Do you want to bring light onto this issue?
Yeah, well, that was a very fascinating game because it depends sort of like how happy the teams were with the result. Sort of depends on camps because Richmond, like, they were literally 20 seconds away from losing it. So in that way, they take the draw, but they had 21 more inside 50s and dominated the field position for most of it. So they should have won, but then Carlton, they if they really gritted the teeth and executed when they should have held on. So, but like I think you're alluding to, like, the draw, do we keep it, things like that. I don't really know. I think I'm like it's a hollow feeling when, as a fan, going away when, like, leaving the game when it's a draw because, like, you just don't know how to feel. So, but I'm probably a bit of a traditionalist that I don't know, keep the draw. There's pros and cons to both, but I think for some fans, for sure, it'd be better to see a result. But in that situation, like, I don't know, it probably depends if how it ends up after the extra time with your view on it. Like, if we were to lose heaps in extra time, if they did it after the draw, then I'd be like, nah, I'm not for it at all. So it's I don't really have too many thoughts on it. Maybe just keep the draw. I don't know why, really. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I'm of the opposite view. I think we go to extra time because, like, I watch a lot of the NBA, and, you know, when that goes to OT, it's so exciting. And, you know, there's a bit of a St Kilda bias in there because if there's an extra time, we win that grand final. But, you know, moving on.
Oh, don't get
Yeah,
started.
it's
Don't get
always
him,
finds ways.
don't get him started.
But I think, like, you look at the Luke Shuey game against Port Adelaide, and I know it was finals, but when that went to extra time, that was some of the best footy I've ever seen. Like, it's just edge of your seat stuff the entire time. So I think it doesn't hurt having extra time. And, you know, you don't want to be separated on percentage if it comes down to a draw and you miss the 8. You want an actual result that gets your team in the 8 on points. So I think, for me, the draw should be scrapped.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, you make some good points there. It'd be very exciting as a fan when they go to extra time. Yeah, if you just didn't win them, you'd feel pretty hard done by. But that's, you know, it's all about the fan and the overall experience, and it'll be more entertaining with extra time for sure.
You do make good points, but I got to say that I think we do keep the draw just because it brings a bit of a narrative to the season and to teams, and I guess, you know, it might be that hollow feeling for a fan if your team has had a draw, but, you know, I just don't see the need to change it. I mean, you know, if your team's, you know, had a draw, well, are you happy with that or are you unhappy with that? Because, you know, it could have gone either way. You just split the points. Like, it's just the way it is, I think. You just keep it that way. I think sometimes I feel like with the AFL, we're trying to make it a lot American, like with a lot of how the American sports are played. But look, I just think keep it. Don't overcomplicate the AFL because it already is overcomplicated. It's a simple game, but, you know, now it's really complex with a lot of these different rules and, you know, the way players play the game now. But I think just keep the draw, you know, suck it up if you're upset about it. Just, you know, I just think it brings a bit of at the end of the season, right? If you had a draw, you know, it just brings a bit of a narrative to the whole you know, scenario of where teams are placed on the ladder. I don't know. That's what I think. But anyway,
No, fair call. Obviously, in one of the shocks of the round, that, like some might say, Port Adelaide were able to get it done against Brisbane after a pretty dominant second half. 13 goals, 9 to 3-3.
Yeah, jeez.
Dominant performance. Plus 95 in disposals in that half. Plus 22 inside 50s and plus 27 contested possessions. I want to ask you boys, do you reckon in that performance, do you reckon it was more Port Adelaide were too good or Brisbane have got some areas to work on?
Well, it's tough to say a bit because I actually didn't watch any part of that game. When was it? Saturday, Arvo?
that doesn't
Yeah,
help.
Saturday twilight.
It doesn't help if you haven't watched any of the game.
I was playing a grand final, but but like from looking at the stats and stuff, absolute statistical domination from Brisbane. So clearly they dominated in the midfield. They had about 140 more disposals in total.
Brisbane or Port?
Port Adelaide. Port Adelaide.
Clearly hasn't watched the game.
No, Port Adelaide over Brisbane. That's what I meant. But statistical domination, and I think they would have had to have been a bit of rust there from Brisbane, and just new players learning the system and working together would have had an impact on the result for sure. Because you don't go down by 10 goals, even though it was at Adelaide Oval with that sort of side in. On paper, the team looked unbelievable. It looked like they couldn't really be beaten if that team plays well. So I think it's probably a bit to do with that, and obviously Port Adelaide played a fantastic game.
Yeah, I'm like Rhonda. I didn't see the game. I was too busy shadow banning, preparing for the next day in my bedroom. But I saw
worked, didn't it?
Yeah, no, it didn't work. Won't be doing that next year. But I saw some of the highlights of Horn Francis in particular, and like he just looked elite. Like, it looked like an old school type footballer with the long socks, the little dirty mo, and the mullet. Like, it was good to see. But yeah, I saw a call by Jonathan Brown, I think, during the week. I think it was Jonathan Brown said that was it not Dersma? Rosie Butters and Horn Francis, that has the potential to be a Cousins, Kerr, Judd type midfield. And I saw a lot of comments saying that it's probably going a bit far, but I tend to agree with Jonathan Brown. That's their ceiling. I think they can be one of the all-time great midfielders down there at Port, but it's exciting times for Port Adelaide, I think, more than Brisbane.
It's a massive call.
Yeah, it's a huge call.
I'm not saying they'll get there,
Yeah.
but they do have that potential.
No, they do. And I think because Port had such a terrible start to the season last year with 0-5 after the first 5 rounds, I mean, this is the perfect start for them to the 2023 campaign. I think it's a bit of both. I think, yeah, definitely a bit of rust with the Lions, but I think Port really played well at home to get the season going. I mean, bit of pressure on Ken Hinkley as well, but they honestly looked really good in that game. I didn't watch it; I watched the highlights, but yeah, I think a bit of both. But I think Port definitely going to be a team to watch out for in this season.
Yeah, well, obviously for Brisbane, they've got to try and regroup and get ready for tonight's game against Melbourne. But for Port, it sets up a real juicy showdown against Collingwood. Could be a danger game for Collingwood, especially with the way they're playing. But yeah, we'll get onto that a bit later on. But speaking of the Brisbane-Melbourne game, the D's had a pretty polar opposite start to what Brisbane did. They were able to get it done against the Dogs by 50 points. And I want to get your thoughts on it, boys. But, there's obviously been a bit of talk about the Gordon and Grundy combination. How did you see that playing out on Saturday night?
I think Melbourne are pretty dangerous this year. They looked really good. I don't have too many concerns about the Gordon Grundy thing. I reckon they'll work because Grundy will play more ruck, then Gordon's a really handy forward. That second ruck. Like if you're a second ruck, if you play that role as a second ruck in the competition like a St Kilda Jack Hayes, you'd be absolutely crapping yourself going against Max Gawn. Like, it adds such a weapon to Melbourne. And I think the Dogs are in strife for this year. I think their list isn't great. Like they've still got a decent midfield, but back line's not great. Forward line still young and not developed yet. So I think they're in for a rough season, the Doggies.
Yeah, and I think as well. So in the 9-minute patch, pretty much to end the second half, D's put on 5 unanswered goals, and it was pretty much a matter of Gawn being in the ruck. Grundy being in the ruck, Gawn being up forward, and Petrarca and Oliver getting the clearances out. If you put that all together, right,
they're stacked everywhere, Melbourne.
Oh, yeah.
But the Gawn Grundy combination only makes them stronger. I think the Bulldogs, for many years now, their defence has been the weakest part of their game. I wouldn't say they're going to have a terrible year, but I mean, I think they just got outclassed by Melbourne, and I really think Melbourne definitely up there with premiership contenders. I mean, they're stacked everywhere, Melbourne. Everywhere you look on the ground, they're stacked. So, and to win by 50 points very convincingly, promising signs for D's fans.
Yeah, after that performance, it's ridiculous to think that they were a bit undermanned in that game. They didn't have Fritsch, they didn't have Salem, and a couple others, and all of those boys are available for selection this week.
except Salem. Salem's not.
Salem's not.
Not
is
playing,
he? Yeah.
no.
Oh right, I thought he was going to get up. He must have been very touch and go then. But they got a few guys coming in. Obviously, Cozzy Pickett going out and played really well last week, and but with the suspension. No, not ideal.
Turn the
alarms, but Melbourne, there's not too many teams sort of over the journey that have had two, first class ruckmen in the same side. So it just adds a whole different dynamic to it all. But I see Melbourne probably getting it done against Brisbane tonight.
Yeah. Well, obviously now, talk about you were talking about the Bulldogs before. They'll have to front up against a confident St Kilda, who Hugo. I know you've put in the notes here flag favourites because I know none of the boys would do that themselves. Quite undermanned. They had 14 I think players on their injury list last week. It seemed to be a battle of defences. I know you were watching the game at Ball and with your Saints jumper on, which could almost be the reason why you lost. But yeah, you know, do you want to shed light on the game?
I think Ross the Boss staked his claim on the competition as one of the best coaches still going around.
You are
You said last
a
week.
delusional flog.
You said last week that you hadn't come to terms with Ross Lyon, yet the moment they win a game, you're on the bandwagon.
He's your best friend.
That's unfair.
No, it's not.
I said I'd warm to him. I still wasn't ecstatic, but I'd warm to the idea.
But now it seems like that you're right near the bloody sun, for crying out loud. Like,
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I threw the bait out there, and a couple of boys bit there, so I was happy with that result. But no, I was very pleased. I watched the replay, obviously, but I was very pleased with how St Kilda played. For the first time in a long time, I think St Kilda played with system on the weekend, and we won that game with system rather than talent. Because you look at the talent we had out there. I think we had about 8 to 10 of our best players out. Like, that was a good win. Freo look a bit dicey. Like, I know it's only round 1, but you'd want to beat St Kilda if we think they're going to make the 8 with all their injuries. But I'm quietly confident about St Kilda this year.
okay.
Not so quiet, but
Well,
Yeah.
what's
Yeah,
the
nothing
space?
else.
I guess we'll see how it goes. But full credit to the Saints, to be honest. I didn't see them winning that. But yeah, Freo have some issues. Like, their defence kept them in it. Brennan Cox and Hayden Young they were taking marks, and you know, if
Luke
not
Ryan.
for Lukey Ryan, so if not for those guys, it could actually been quite ugly. But the Nat 5 down forward thing didn't really work, and hurt my super coach as a result. But I'm gonna stick with him, and it can only get better than what it was last week.
I might cop it for this take, but I'm not sold that the Nat 5 down forward isn't working. I thought Callum Wilkie just gave him a bath on Sunday. No, like, seriously.
I think
Callum Wilkie does not get the credit he deserves.
I think Freo's midfield were just an absolute rabble on the weekend. That's probably why Fife didn't do any good.
Yeah, well, that's probably part of the reason as well. But I genuinely think Wilkie
It's a reason.
outplayed him quite well. Like, I think Wilkie had 24 touches and Fife only the 9, and Wilkie was marking him close to 90% of the game. So I think Wilkie doesn't get enough credit in that regard. Like, he's done to Dusty a few times where Dusty hasn't got off the chain against St Kilda because Wilkie's put the clamps on him. And, you know, Fife up forward, I think it has potential, but his weakness is his goal kicking, so I don't know how that's going to change in the next, 20 weeks or so.
Well, just another thing to throw at you. Obviously, Connor, you mentioned about like Luke Ryan and players like that doing well in defence for Freo. Statistically speaking, there were 3 players there. There was Luke Ryan, Brennan Cox, and Hayden Young. All stood out in terms of their ability to intercept mark and everything like that, and just play from there in what could be described as a battle of the defences. But that being said, Freo's inefficiency to move forward, their forward 50 efficiency was 30.5%, which has got to be one of the lowest totals in a while. So as you say, that systematic defence could have been the difference there in a game like that. But obviously, with the Saints win, you do have half of the Saints players in the Supercoach in your Supercoach side. You did win against, I believe, the man sitting next to you.
Oh, Blair.
Beat Blair.
It's an absolute modern day miracle, that one, how that's happened.
No,
but
you boys are copping it because I was laughed at on draft night.
Except,
No, you're laughing at points.
Well, to be
Like,
fair,
even for not my non-St Kilda picks, like, he laughed at me for picking Horn Francis, but he got 136 on the weekend.
I don't know. I think it's a bit more luck involved than anything else. But to be fair, the team you picked this year was definitely better than last year.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of put your heart aside with the feelings of the players that you had. And
he just used his brain a bit.
yeah, he used a bit more intellect
It's not
this
much
time
of it.
around. There was clearly a bit more. So you've done well, but Blair will be bitterly disappointed with that, and I don't know where his head was during last week to, or during the draft. To be fair, to lose to you, with all due respect.
Hence missing the podcast. Owen, obviously you got a win as well over Connor. Thoughts on that? Especially you put up a big stake in terms of if you don't win this season, Yeah, and you start your campaign 1-0.
Was a bit tight, so yeah.
Perfect start to the season.
Was a little tight.
1,895 points round one.
Started
Perfect
a bit
start.
better than Geelong. That's good.
That's fine. That's fine. I must admit, I'm going to give you a bit of credit, Connor. You're definitely my toughest opponent. But one of the best moves I've ever made in my life, I'll go back to it. I traded out last minute. What's that guy's name from West Coast?
Witherden. Alex
Witherden, who only racked up 80 points. I traded him for Luke Ryan, who got 171 points, and he got me over the line.
Yeah.
Get in, lad.
Rightio.
Anyway, I'm
Luke,
against.
you got you up. Yeah, I think I might have put Hayden. Actually, I put Hayden Young in my actual
I'm against.
Supercoach Classic because
Good
players,
player.
these guys.
I'm against Blair this week. Currently he's in the lead because he's had a few more players play so far. But we had Jeremy Cameron in his team. But I'm expected to win. He's not really much of a task, Blair.
Yeah, I just don't think he puts much time and effort into it deep down. Doesn't really care.
Every year he talks a big game, suits up for draft night. Oh yeah, I'm gonna win. These boys got nothing against me. I'm the real deal. And then after round 3, what's Supercoach again? So that's what happens.
He loses the passion for the game quite early.
He's a phase guy. But but no, we're good. We're good.
Yeah. Well, speaking about wins and losses, I want to get your tips for the following rounds. Obviously tonight we've spoken about Brisbane and Melbourne. Only 9 teams have gone on to play September out of 68 since 2010 after being 0-2. Will Brisbane fall into that caper of facing that tough task, or will they be able to bounce back and get the win?
All right, I'll start first. But I'm just going to go all teams because let's get through it. But yeah, for that game, Friday night game tonight, I'm going to say Melbourne. Not an upset. I think quite comfortable at the Gabba against Brisbane. Saturday, I reckon Collingwood over Port, Richmond over Crows. Ooh, Bulldogs versus Saints at Marvel. This will be a good game. I think off their high, I reckon Saints. I'll give you a chance. I think Freo will bounce back. They will beat North at Optus. Swans will beat Hawthorn quite easily. Essendon, no, take that back. I think Gold Coast will beat Essendon because Essendon already think they've won the flag after one round. And I'm going to go GWS over West Coast at Optus on Sunday night.
GWS obviously going to miss Josh Kelly, Harry Perryman, and Lockie Whitfield this week. Hugo, we've already got one Saints tip on the board. I assume you're going in the same direction. What are your other tips for the round?
I've got the D's being Brizzy. I reckon Port cause an upset and beat the Pies. I think Richmond beat Adelaide. Saints beat Bulldogs. Fremantle beat North. Swannies beat Hawthorn. Suns smoke Essendon.
Ooh.
And I'll give West Coast a win. I reckon West Coast get there. One of their few wins for the year.
Yeah, fair. Well, I've got Carlton beating Geelong, so got that one right.
Thanks, mate.
For who you beauty.
One on the board.
Tonight's going to be interesting, but I think Melbourne. I don't think it'll be by much. Brisbane play really well at the Gabba, and they'll back themselves in there. But I think Melbourne just a little bit too good. Collingwood and Port, another very interesting game given both teams' form last week. The Pies will get up because it's at the G. I'll back them in. Crom and Richmond, we haven't played that well against the Crows at Adelaide Oval of late. Lost the fixture last year, but I think we'll probably have enough. But I don't think it's going to be very easy. Adelaide have a very good forward line, and I think Roy Laird's due for a big one after a dismal display last week. But there's a lot of really good games. Western Bulldogs, St Kilda. Might give the Saints the edge as well. I think they played a lot better than what the Doggies did. So Freo will bounce back against North, sort of humble North a little bit after their win last week. Sydney will win quite comfortably at the SCG against the Hawks. The Dons will get up in a tight one.
Ooh.
In a tight one.
Flag Dons,
Gold
here we
Coast
go.
At Marvel. Yeah, they'll take a lot of confidence from last week. And I still think GWS will get up, even though they've got a few really important players out against West Coast because they're obviously struggling and have been for some time. So, but my tips last week were very bad. I don't know how many I got, but pretty much every call I made, like I'm pretty sure I said Brisbane are going to come out. They'll win. They'll do it by 10 goals, and then they got done by 10 goals. So that was pretty good. So I can't go much worse than what my sort of calls were last week. But it was quite an unpredictable round of results last week. So I think it'll sort itself out a bit more, and the teams that should win will win.
Yeah, no, well, speaking about certainty tips, I'm going to put you guys on the spot for a second. Basically, out of all the games for the round and all the tips that you've made, which one from the round would be your certain tip?
Oh, for me, it'd be Gold Coast beating Essendon. Essendon, down strife.
I'm going to say Swans over Hawks. Hawks. I don't see Hawks winning a game this season, and to be fair, that'd be really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I see Hawks winning a game this year, but yeah, that's probably the one. I think Sydney, sure thing. Obviously, Hawthorn $8.50, so doesn't read too well for them.
Gamble responsibly.
Yeah, gamble responsibly, but like, I don't know, if you really have faith in them, it's probably worth getting on them. Bit of a payout.
They're going at $1.06.
Yeah, no, I mean get on the Hawks. Like if you really have faith in them.
$8.50.
But yeah, I mean they've had it good.
Put the house on it, you become homeless.
The Hawks have had it pretty good for a while, so they deserve a few down years. But I actually back what Sam Mitchell's doing with the young fellas, and I think in a few years they're going to be like quite good. But yeah, tough year for them. That game is my certainty. Sydney.
Yeah, same.
I love them.
All right, Owen, finish this off, mate.
Yep. Well, boys, been a good episode. Thank you to all the listeners out there and viewers. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to follow us on the socials, and we'll be back next week. Take care.
See you, mate.